twofold. First, standard security systems lack the ability to recognize specific types of IoT devices, their unique risk profiles, and the expected behaviors associated with them. Second, IoT devices can be deployed by any business center and not typically seen as part of IT, therefore bypassing typical IT security controls and processes such as asset management, security patching. Of course, there is perpetuated by the first reason. This is not to mention that different IoT devices use different hardware, chipsets, operating systems, and firmware, and have a longer operational lifespan than their cyber lifespan. By the very definition, IoT devices are electronic devices that sense or interact with an internal state or the external environment. This would include OT devices that monitor and control equipment or their processes. These network-connected devices are all targets for attackers and often aren't maintained by IT. Unlike computers, servers, laptops, etc., the phones that are managed by agents without proper device identification and tracking mechanisms in place, IoT devices are often relegated as unmanaged endpoints in the network and therefore left vulnerable to exploits, password-targeted attacks, and malware infiltration. Now, we're on like the one last long paragraph, okay? Bear with me. And again, this might not be for everybody, but I will ensure that the links are there and you can do your best to try to catch up. But I tend to do this at like a certain speed. If I wasn't speaking, I'd probably be done by now. So IoT security defined from the above noted vantage point, IoT security can be understood as a security strategy and protection mechanism that specifically safeguards from the possibility of cyber attacks on IoT devices that are connected to the network and purposely built for a fixed set of functionalities. Without robust security, any connected IoT device is vulnerable to getting breached, compromised, and controlled by a bad actor to ultimately steal user data and bring down systems. Network security and operational systems should be incorporating IoT security into standard practice, process, and procedure to ensure these unmanaged devices fall within the same level of visibility and control as those are managed. A cause for concern for securing IoT is that as more and more diverse types of IoT devices continue to connect to the network, there is a dramatic broadening of the attack surface. To add to this, the entire network security posture is diminished to the level of integrity and protection offered to the last secure device. Unless that device was already adequately secured, on top of that, 98% of all IoT device traffic is unencrypted, putting personal and confidential data at severe risk. In a network, endpoints are the devices that are connected to the internet, and this includes IoT devices. Every endpoint provides a potential point of entry for a bad actor to expose the network to outside risks. So as with other endpoints, IoT devices are vulnerable to intense weaponization. Infected with malware, IoT devices can be used as botnets to launch distributed denial of service, or DDoS, attacks on the network the bad actor wishes to bring down. However, unlike IT devices, the vast array of hardware and operating systems for IoT devices make it impossible to protect them all in the same way. A single malware prevention agent compatible with most IT platforms does not exist. Apart from this, poor password security practices continue to fuel password-related attacks on IoT devices, and weak device and network security postures make IoT devices easy to target. A growing number of IoT devices are unpatched and run on outdated operating systems. Some of the most frequent attacks on these devices are exploits executed using techniques such as network scanning, remote code execution, command injection, and others. 41% of attacks exploit device vulnerabilities, as IT-borne attacks scan through network-connected devices and attempt to exploit known weaknesses. After compromising the first device, lateral movement is opened up to access other vulnerable devices and compromise them one by one. Besides using some of these time-tested attack tactics thought obsolete by modern IT-based malware, prevention, peer-to-peer command and control C2 communication, and self-propagating to IoT malware worms are two new attack tactics emerging on the IoT security horizon. IoT worms are in fact becoming more common than IoT botnets. Both tactics target decades-old legacy OT protocols to disrupt critical business operations in the enterprise. IoT security must protect devices and the networks they are connected to from the ever-widening spectrum of IoT security issues. So in that article, they also have an infographic available to you. Let's see if I can get to what I want. Let's see. By the way, I love how with Holochain, I love how that all the price predictions have been absolutely off, and we are well ahead of where they thought they would be. Uh, Here's the one from Open Health News. Holochain is a new technology project that huge potential for the cooperative economy. Members of the Open Co-op have been promoting the idea that the new software could potentially revolutionize both our failing democracies and our predatory capitalist economy. Since 2004, back then when we weren't quite so clear on exactly how the required information architecture should be designed, but we knew what we wanted it to do and how it should work. In 2004, I published a paper entitled Participatory Democracy Networks, which explained how I thought some new information architecture could facilitate participatory democracy worldwide. The above diagram illustrates the undemocratic nature of the need for structural changes, current power relationships. So basically what they have is you have everything centered around the business. You have the business connect to the individual to the government, and to the NGO. And everything centers back, but nothing really comes back to the individual. So everything's kind of more out than in. Whereas suddenly now it's the relationships between the government and the individual, where the individual kind of controls the relationship that they have with everyone else, as opposed to everyone else sort of just siphoning off from them. So I do like that. And this is another article I will include because it is a deep read, and I am not trying to do this to you guys, but also too, I don't know if you guys are really ready for all this. This is, wow, this is new to me. I am loving it. And even though it's from 2018 and I know a lot has changed, I do like the consistency that I see in what they've been able to accomplish on the roadmap and the slight differences. But realistically, the fact that they've been intently in the healthcare industry, I love it. So let's see. We know about owning and controlling your own data. That's what they want. That's what we want. And it's a fundamental idea behind Planet. So with Planet, wow. So the purpose of Planet is concept is to illustrate through a graphical user interface what it might be like to interact with a new economic system, which has been built collaboratively as an open source project. So you're hearing it from me. Remember how I was telling you guys about like the possibility of Holochain becoming its own exchange? Keep listening to it, but understand this kind of ties into why I believe Holochain has the capacity to become its own exchange and also its own minting auction house for art-based NFTs or gaming NFTs. I still haven't talked about the gaming ecosystem and its interest being gained by devs. Like imagine if something like Ubisoft used Holochain. This would be crazy. Like Rockstar Games would be done a GTA 6 one with a theme around Toronto's many distinct suburbs. Big ups to Scarborough, big up to the West End, shout out to North York, Vaughan, all of the city them. But yo, I can't tell Ubisoft or Rockstar Games to use Holochain, but I gotta get back to this. Again, what is Planet? The purpose of Planet is the concept is to illustrate through a graphical user interface what it might be like to interact with a new economic system which has been built collaboratively as an open source project. Planet would be owned and controlled by its members, giving them complete control over how it is run via proposals and votes on other members' proposals. Planet incorporates concepts such as agent-centric architecture, personal data licenses, portable reputation, alternative currencies, group management, local relevance, and delegative voting. All the same ideas we were proposing in 2004, dog. You don't hear me though. To help build participatory democracy networks. So for 12 years, Planet has remained a dream, and then we discovered Holochain. Whilst everyone has been getting very excited about the potential blockchain, we've remained skeptical for a variety of reasons. So here's our 3 reasons for being skeptical of blockchain. You cannot store all the data in the world in a blockchain. 2, the blockchain is a spectacular waste of energy that could instead be used to improve the quality of life for millions of people around the world. Just see the insane energy consumption of Bitcoin. And they link it in the article too, which you'll see linked beneath the video. If growth continues at the present pace, researchers estimate that Bitcoin mining alone would consume more power in 2020 than the entire world does today. That is disgusting. 3, a system that is designed to enable total anonymity is actually not very appropriate for building collaborative, trust-based systems and organizations. So I am loving it. You know what I mean? I am loving it. They break down again how it works, and that's what I'm here for. I'm loving it. So we can go as far as back to 2018. So how is OSB asks, how is the HOLO organization going to evolve? MS, and by the way, MS is who are we gonna attribute MS to? So OSB is Oliver Sylvester Bradley, and MS is Matthew Schutt. So Oliver Sylvester Bradley is interviewer, and Matthew Schutt is he's the big honcho. He is the man, but one of the main faces behind Holo. I believe he's the communications officer. Like he does most of the speaking, but crazy. So what was it? The evolution of these guys. Hold on. We're gonna go through some of these questions. I will. Okay, so first question. I can imagine people worried it might slow down their computers. Is that something users will need to think about? I'm not gonna cover Holo ports right now. Sorry, I apologize. I'm skimming through this because I'm trying to shorten this as best I can because I know we're getting long and we will cross over the hour mark. So the thing I like about Holo, in reading what I'm reading right now, is the ability to make use of computing power. So kind of like the way Uber drivers use their cars. You know, you're not just paying somebody for them hosting the service, but also for them using their own computing power to do so. So it's only rightfully so that there be a mutual credit currency pairing where you do get paid for the use of your service and the devices that you use to incur costs to provide functionality of that service, right? It's fair. And Holo takes a 1% or less transaction fee, so I love it. Going forward, OSB asks, I see, so Holo has the potential to disrupt the hosting industry and divert money back to the people who join the network and host apps on their computers. But if you've invented a way to do that, why wouldn't you take more than 1%? Matthew Schutt, wow, look at this guy. The cojones on this guy. He says, we don't need it because we're distributing everything. Just like Airbnb was able to grow from 2 guys with air mattresses to a company that books more rooms than any other because they didn't have to build and own locations. We're catalyzing. Like, yo, I gotta give this guy like some kind of cool movie voice because he just like the I don't give a fuck. I'm not taking more than 1% existing assets. Instead, we've invented a really efficient accounting system, and a 1% transaction fee is our business model for Holo, and that helps subsidize the larger Holochain ecosystem. This is just the first step in a larger plan to shift how humanity works. I like it. Skimming through when they talk about how Holochain's technology works. Well, earlier in the video, I had touched about how Tron uses BitTorrent, right? And Tron actually bought BitTorrent, but then they really got at it. Like, one of the reasons why people give Tron crap is because when you go through the whitelisting and you even go through the translations in the original language, there's like people say like a lot of the tech is lifted, but also too, Justin's son who owns Tron did buy BitTorrent, and we're going further before that acquisition. But from BitTorrent you get self-healing storage, and that's via the the distributed hash table. And 2, from blockchain and other things, the concept of immutable, unchangeable, tamper-proof, data log, a hash chain. That's your smart contracts. I tend to notice wherever you find smart contracts, you do find a self-destruct kind of moment. And it's not a bad, self-destructing isn't bad, but it's just a validation. It's how you secure your network. So a burn is inevitable. So where I see fuel